I was thinking about how sometimes I feel like for me, I'm like, don't feel like I'm doing all of the things that I need to be doing. But yet it's like, I wake up some days and I'm like, wow, I look really good.
Mm.
Right. And it's funny that, I think we've talked about this before. You build a base, right? It's like you build a base over the course of 10 to 15 years. But I think kind of like on the topic of our self talk that we talked about a little bit earlier, it's like it's easy to beat yourself up about like days and like small decisions within the day that you feel like are like bad decisions, right? It's like, oh, I ate a handful of candy, but it's like, oh, that handful of candy used to be 10 handfuls of candy, right? But now it's like I can have candy in the cupboards and I may eat it every day, but it's like I eat a handful or two every day as opposed to eating the whole bag and then, it did being crazy. And so it's like I think that's a struggle for me sometimes. It's like I will like it's almost like that my mindset is still on like being perfect with things.
Yep.
And I think that's just it's almost like a predisposition or something. Like I feel like I need to be perfect with things when in essence it's like I don't need to be anywhere near perfect with things. And but it's that slippery slope. It's like that type A type personality where it's like, oh, perfect, perfect, perfect. But it's almost like what you're talking about with your client, where it's like that all or nothing type
Hmm.
deal. Now I don't have like an all or nothing type deal necessarily anymore, but it's like I feel like I have to be perfect, and I beat myself up when I'm not.
Totally. Yeah. I think this is part of who we are. I don't know if it's like, I don't know, like an innate feature from being competitive the majority of our life to being like all of a sudden I wonder in some instances, I don't know if you do this, but I think I do this as well. Is like, it would be, although baseball is a game of failure, it would be like if I miss on my diet a certain amount of times, for me, I almost like relate that to like, well, you wouldn't do that with like your tea work. Like you wouldn't just neglect, you wouldn't just like skip 3 days with your tea work. So why the hell would you do it with your nutrition? I think there's habits that have been ingrained in me so much from sports that I just carried them on with me. And so I've used a lot of those into the health and fitness kind of subconsciously. Like now that I think about it, I'm like almost detaching myself, and like looking at scenarios of why does some of the stuff in health and fitness come super easy to me? Why do other people struggle with it? And I'm just like, well, I think there's things that I just never stopped practicing that have been ingrained in me from so young that I kind of took for granted, right? Like showing up on time and getting punished for it, like, having to do some sort of punishment like in sports, and just being like, damn, okay, let's not let that happen. So then that carried over to showing up for jobs on time, like showing up for work on time. And then like the ability to, we talked about self-talk today, like being in a position where you can just motherfuck yourself in scenarios, and you go out and you perform and it doesn't work. If you try to swing harder, you get frustrated, it doesn't work. So like remaining cool and calm and acting like you've been there before when you come to the plate in your approach, regardless of what happened before, it's like, dang, I take that into life too. I take that into health and fitness. I didn't even really recognize it until I like sit here and think about it. And it's like, I bet you there's so many lessons that you and I both learned through sports and stuff that like we carried into health and fitness, and that's why it was easy for us, right? Not easy, but easier than most, I think. Whereas like I look at other people and I'm like, oh man, they're crossing a bridge that you and I probably crossed when we were like 12, and that was just ingrained in us ever since, that we almost take for granted, you know, where they think it's okay just to miss. They think it's okay just to like, yeah, like I have these limiting beliefs or these self-sabotaging things, but I don't need to address it. Fuck it, and they just kind of like not even take parts of their life or journey seriously. Whereas maybe you and I experienced that through sports, and we're like, oh, this changes the outcome. Because of me, we can either win or lose this game. Like, and it's all because, I think just little things like that. It's interesting to think back, like stuff that's ingrained in us that I almost take for granted, and then when I see somebody else do it, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, you do that? Like, that's stupid, but then go, oh well shit, they didn't have the same experience as you. They weren't as fortunate to go through that like years and years and years ago, where it's second nature for you. So you have to start them from scratch. And it's cool. It helps me become better, because now I have to like, oh, you pretend like you're not the expert. What would you do for step one? Like, how would you coach somebody through it? You know, so it's interesting, man.
No, that is like a good, like there's probably ingrained things within us that we don't even think about.
Yeah.
And what's your thought on this? Because like I used to, I mean, if you even looked, so we've done almost 200 episodes of this. If you go back to the first episode, which is, it was over 2 years ago,
Really?
right? Yeah, over 2 years ago, it would have been 2022, like probably like September,
Holy
October,
shit.
November of
Yeah.
2022 is when Nick and I initially came out with the podcast. And I'm like a completely different person. But that version of Alex back then was like so like this and that and like so
I remember.
non-negotiable. It's crazy really when I think about that version of myself. It was just like, it was like all of those mindset guru guys out there that are like,
Yeah.
I work out for 6 hours a day, and like if you don't, you're a bitch. It's
Dude,
like,
dude, you had hour-long meditations, remember? Like
oh yeah. I mean,
you
that
were
wasn't
deep.
even like that long ago in the grand
Yeah.
scheme of things. That was probably a year and a half ago that I was doing that. And kind of, I think when I think back to that version of myself, what I was looking for was like something, it's like I was looking for, it's like, God, like, I don't know, like, I don't feel the way I should feel. Right. Where I figured out too, it was like, I think that what I was is like, essence of me was like, just like lonely. Right. It's like, I was looking for, it's like grasping at straws of like, oh, maybe meditation, maybe this long meditation will get me to like feeling good on a regular basis. And, or like the missing piece, right? It's like, oh, there's something missing. Maybe it's meditation. Maybe it's like, the minds, maybe I need to like be harder and I need to do like all of these like really hard things, and that's going to fill that void. And it's funny enough, like that, it was really just like finding Marissa that helped me a lot with that, right? It's like, just like finding like the person that I, want to spend the rest of my life with, that fit, like it helped balance me out a lot to where I was like, I still, I'm still like really try to eat well and get my workouts in. And I love going on my walks every day. Just my goal is to like move every day, right? Move every day and like lift, 3 to 5 times throughout the week. More or less right now, it's been closer to like 5, 6 times a week, just in a smaller capacity. But like, it's not that I need to do all these things, but it's like it balanced me out in the sense of that, what, like I can do a lot less and be in good shape. And it's like, I don't need to have a 6 pack. Like, I just want to look good, feel good, and be able to do the things I need to do to like be the best version of myself, the best man, husband, person for Marissa, for every friends, family, stuff like that. But it is like, it is kind of funny to look back at that version. Not that it's a bad, like it's great. Like all of this stuff led me to where I am today, but it's like I don't even necessarily relate a lot with that version of myself anymore.
It's
It's like,
crazy. Yeah. And I saw the whole evolution of it too, which was pretty cool. Like, that's the biggest thing that I think I saw you change with for the positive, was that you accepted that there is an alternative version out there for you that didn't need to like scratch and claw and bleed and like try to find this answer. It was almost just like you allowed somebody else to come into your life and accepted it, and then all of a sudden you were like, oh, it's okay to not have to crush myself or grind or like go so hard and do this extreme excessive morning routine. It was just like, I saw you almost more so rely on like the compounded interest that you've built over the years, to where you don't have to do some of those things. Right. And so it was like, but telling you in that state before you had met Marissa, you would have been like, whatever, dude, like I'm going harder, But I think when you met her, it was just like this, you almost could sense that you had this feeling of freedom, to where you were like, oh yeah, dude, I can still feel good. I can still look amazing. I can still be healthy. And I don't have to like grit my way through the process. It's actually okay. It's actually cool. I'm actually better this way. And I don't know if you would have made that transition if you didn't meet her, you know? Who knows? Maybe you did at some point, but maybe it wouldn't have been like in that time frame, I guess. And so to kind of see that, that was like, you see the evolution of like your growth, man. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. No, it's
Yeah.
fun. It's like and it's crazy to think of just how where we've both come through, and just I know we did a podcast a while ago about like Hinge and like finding, if you find it, but we
Oh
both
yeah.
around the same time,
Yeah.
went through the dating process and like our own journeys, and met amazing women, and have just, it's cruel that like all the conversations that we've had in the past, and then what, how different even a year ago was to today, right? Like how different the podcast is, how different like we are as humans and people, and like our lives are because of some of the things that we've chatted about and some of the things that we decided to do together, really, and then talk about. And then it's like, oh, we're bouncing ideas off each other. We're like, oh, is this, oh, this is like a shitty part of dating, and this is this is awesome. Like, and it's like we kind of go through that, and we should do another podcast here within the next few weeks on just like our process, like how we've gotten to that, because I think that would help a lot of people. I know out there's a lot of like the dating gurus, and like they teach people to play games and stuff like that. And not that we're experts in any sense of the capacity or word in any sense of the word, but it's just I think a thing that could help some folks out there who are maybe trying to get into finding that person they want to spend the rest of their life with. And like I said, at least we're two guys that have found that person, and both went through a similar thing to do it. But I think that would be a fun podcast to record.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Play catch up on where we were at to where we're currently at right now, and the
Yeah.
kind of what allowed us to go through that transition and,
Yeah.
and be where we're at now. I think we're definitely due for one of those.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do that over the next few weeks. You guys will see that come out. But thanks for watching, listening. If you enjoy this, if it helped you, share it with somebody out there you think could benefit. Otherwise, we will talk to you on the next podcast.